odd delay as it jumped from looking for game to capture for some reason to this. But yeah, we're here. Oh, let me lower that, get that out of the screen. Excellent. It's Tuesday, Tutorial Tuesday. This is going to be repetitive for a lot of you folks who've played the game and know how the game works and everything like that, but for new players, this is going to be important information. Hopefully some new players, if they don't tune into the stream today, will at least catch this on video on YouTube or on Twitch even over the next few days, but definitely on YouTube later on as well. I am Secret Squirrel. I'm your host. This is Secret Squirrel Games. Thank you for tuning in today. What we're going to be knocking out is our daily and weekly challenges, as we usually do at this time. But in addition to that, this is Tutorial Tuesday, and as such, I'm going to be walking through a lot of the basics of the game of Crossout, which is a post-apocalyptic online multiplayer vehicle crafting, building, and then fighting game. And what I mean by crafting and then building as separate things is that you individually craft parts, and then you also build the vehicle out of these parts. You don't have to craft every part. A lot of parts you get given to you, but the point being that once you can craft specific parts that you want, specific weapons, specific modules of different effects, whether they be a stealth module or a booster, a rocket booster, and things like that. And then you put together a vehicle out of all that, and then you go fight each other. That's what the game is all about, right? The game is all about vehicles fighting other vehicles. That's what you come to Crossout to do. It's fun. It can be fast-paced, definitely, and you're constantly getting into these battles and shooting each other up and blowing up other vehicles and things like that. Now, that being said, that's what you come here to do. The good thing about it is this is a completely free game. 100% free to download, 100% free to play. There's no monthly subscription. You don't buy the game up front and then get to play it or anything like that. All of that is completely free. You can play the game without spending a dime on the game. Of course, there are opportunities to spend money on the game. I mean, they still want to make money, of course. So there is and here's where we'll start to get into the tutorial, just by pointing out the tabs along the top here. You are in your garage screen when you first start the game, by the way, with whatever vehicle you have active currently in your garage. You can have a few different vehicles based on how many blueprint slots you have open and available to you, but whatever vehicle you have active is what's going to show in your garage screen. These buttons here are going to be very important, and then these tabs along here you're going to be accessing a lot. And there are some other buttons and things that you can select as well, but primarily those things, and then these two stats up here. One is your fuel, the green. You have 200 liter capacity total in your tank at any time, but you can use fuel in order to play raids. We'll get into that in a little bit. And then the gold is your number of coins that you have. That's in-game money. Now, and that's where I talked about how the game is free, but you can spend money on the game, and that would be in the shop right here. When you select the shop, you can buy packages, or packs as they call them, which are all the parts required to make a particular vehicle, including the paint and everything, and a lot of times often come with a certain amount of coins as well, but you see they have a real world price. Like this is $30 basically, $29.99 US dollars, and it would come with all the parts to make this vehicle as well as the paint and 1,500 in-game coins. You can just buy coins, and they have different packs and stuff, and these are not the only things you can purchase from. These are just the highlighted items, the recommended items, as it says right here. You can see I can scroll down and there's a bunch of these. This is in the packs tab. Bunch of these different packs that you can spend the real world money on to get the parts to make these vehicles. And if you want to test drive these vehicles because you don't know if they're good or not, you can just hit this little button right here and you can test drive. So if I wanted to say, oh, is this a fun vehicle for me to drive for 30 bucks? I would get all the parts to make this vehicle and 1,500 coins and everything. Well, I can just hit test drive right here and boom, it pops up in my garage, and I can go out on my test track and have some fun with it. So, and then I just hit escape, and I'm back to where I was. Pretty simple, right? So you can do that with any of the packs to determine what things you might be interested in. And then additionally, there's a tab for just purchasing coins in different sets, and quite often they have sales for these coins, like half price even. And then there are customization items that you can get just for decor, you know, different stickers and things like that for your vehicle to make it look a different way. And then there are premium and season passes. If you purchase the premium pass, you see this little icon right here. It says premium subscription when you hover over it. That's under your like name tag up here. That will become gold, and that will indicate that you are in premium status. Premium status awards 50% more rewards for all the battles and things like that that you do in terms of resources and such. So, the in-game coins that you purchase, or whatever your coins are here, it could be coins that you earn as well. You could craft items. Oh, what's up, Cato Punk? Nice. Thanks for coming in, Cato Punk. Much appreciated. Always good to have you guys here. The in-game coins would be used. This is a tutorial Tuesday, Cato, so I am walking people through the basics of the game today. Hopefully some noobs will get some benefit out of this, either during the stream, or if any happen to tune in, or somebody who's interested in the game and is checking it out, or perhaps on YouTube later on. So your in-game coins here, which you can, like I said already, you can purchase them, but you don't have to. You can earn them in certain events sometimes. Like currently, there is an event specifically for, today is the day before St. Patrick's Day. Today is 16th of March. Tomorrow is 17th of March and St. Patrick's Day. Today and tomorrow, for example, they're running this special right here, Gold Battles, where if you win 15 battles and missions or brawls, you get 20 in-game coins awarded to you. So there are ways sometimes to receive an award. Also, if you have a premium subscription, if you do purchase that, you, in addition to 50% more resources that you get a special mission each day that you're in premium subscription to get. I appreciate it, Cattle. Thank you very much. To get an additional 40 coins each day. So that's pretty decent too on its own. And then there's also just the capability of you being able to craft items and then sell them on the market. The market is player driven, so it's all about supply and demand, and of course crafting costs and things like that. But there are a ton of things available on here. You'll note that there are color differences. That's based on rarity. Common for white, blue is rare, special is turquoise, purple is epic, orange is legendary. No, gold, is legendary, orange is relic. And those are obviously the higher in rarity of the items also indicates the strength of the item, basically. Now, Crossout uses what's called a power score system. So every piece and part on your vehicle has some kind of a power score rating. And it may be something like if it's a weapon or something like that, and therefore the strength of the weapon may indicate its power score. The cabin has benefits, how much power it provides in order for you to equip it with weapons and other parts like that. The wheels have power score based on how much they can support, how much weight they can support, and if they are a draw on your engine, for example, and they reduce the engine's power, things like that. You have melee weapons, you have passive melee weapons and active melee weapons. Passive melee weapons would just be spikes and stuff like that. Active melee weapons would be things like chainsaws and buzzsaws and flame things that shoot fire, very close to you and things like that. And then you have other supporting pieces like radars and all this stuff. But all of those have two things about them specifically. One, they have a power score ranking. And two, they have a durability. All right, now all these items, all these pieces and parts that have a durability, they effectively are armor because they got to be shot off. If they are between your opponent's guns and your cabin, the objective for your opponent is to kill you, right? Well, that would mean destroying your cabin. That's how you die. Your cabin is your lifeline. That is the thing that keeps you alive. Once your cabin is done, you're done. You're dead in the game. So anything that goes between your opponent's weapons and your cabin, while it may serve other functions as well, like these passive melee weapons, they serve the function of being passive melee weapons, but they also effectively are armor. Because if an enemy is at a distance from me and they're shooting at me right now, these are blades on the front of my truck. Those blades get shot off if his or her rounds are hitting here. For example, those blades are just counting as armor until I can get up close enough to hit them with the blades. Otherwise, they're not melee weapons until I can get up there and actually ram into somebody. They're just pieces of armor. So whatever their durability is what translates to how much of a piece of an armor they are. Because that's how many points of damage they can take before they're shot off of my vehicle, before they're taken off. And then, once they're shut off, of course the cabin is exposed because I don't have another piece behind them. But if I had multiple layers of armor, then that adds, or multiple layers of items of any kind, then that adds effectively armor to the cabin's defense. What's going on, Foxy? Good to have you. Doing Tutorial Tuesday, so I'm walking people through the basics of the game right now. It may be a bit repetitive for those of you who know, of course, for all my standard viewers and everything like that, but it's going to go into a YouTube video as well, so hopefully some new player will get some use out of this. So effectively, that's what parts and their power score. Parts have two things, like I said, basically two. All parts have two things to you, which is the... Oh, really? Is it still coming up as Baldur's Gate? Let me see about that real quick. Huh. I think I can adjust that midstream. Oop. Mute that first. Let me make sure that I'm adjusting that. Streamlabs OBS stream settings midstream. Update stream info on Streamlabs. Alright. Chat panel pencil icon. There is a pencil icon. There it is. Yes, it is. Got it. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. And I will definitely do that as well. Much appreciated, Foxy. Thank you for letting me know. That should be adjusted now. Alright. So, where I was saying that all the parts in the game have power score and durability. So there you go. You know, additionally though, there are a lot of other stats depending on what the part may be. If it's just a piece of, you know, something on the side, it's going to have mass and all that stuff too, and that's going to affect the weight of the vehicle as far as affecting the acceleration of the vehicle and the top speed of the vehicle. It can be affected by different parts, as far as the power draw from wheels, for example. So when you get into the nitty-gritty of each and every part, there are ways, of course, to optimize and get the most out of each and every part combination that you can get in order to make a great vehicle. Or you can just throw a bunch of stuff together and it can be a monstrosity, but as long as you're having fun, that's really the ultimate goal anyway. It doesn't even matter Now, some people are really good at vehicle design, you know, because you design this. You know, I'll show you real quick. If I go into build mode, you see I select every piece. I can take them off. I can put them on. Whatever it is. You select every piece that you want on your vehicle. You know, and there are some folks who design really good looking vehicles. There's some folks who design really effective vehicles. There's some folks who design really effective vehicles that are also good looking. You know, who knows? You know, but there's some folks who can't seem to wrap their head around it. It happens. But anyway, if you want to get a good look at what a lot of other folks have posted, you know, and are made available for other players of Crossout to see as far as their builds, you can go to this tab right here, the exhibition tab. And these are all things, and some of these are clearly just what you would call art builds. They are just somebody was playing around and decided to make a piece of art. This is obviously not an effective vehicle as far as getting out into combat and doing anything. It's very interesting, that's for sure. Yeah, it's got the grill going on right here with a pig and everything. You know, you got stuff going on. Definitely, it is an interesting build for certain. I mean, it took some effort, that's for sure. It did. Now, that's not going to help you win any battles, though. I will say that much. It is not going to help you. I mean, you can see with some people, this is all like one person did. Okay. Crazy, you know. But, you know, there are art builds. There are plenty of folks who enjoy really doing that stuff. You got the duck truck here with ducks inside. You can barely see them, I guess. I can't really zoom in any further than that, but interesting, huh? And then but then you also have, you have builds that aren't just for looks and stuff like that too. I mean, you might have something like, you know, like this isn't obviously for fighting, because and I can tell this right away because it shows the statistics for the vehicle over here. And you can see it's only using 2 of its possible 12 energy points, meaning it's not using, it doesn't have weapons and stuff like that equipped right now. But if I go for a test drive in it, I'm sure it'll still drive pretty quick. Hell yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a fast little thing as far as whipping around and drifting everywhere and stuff. Fun. It's fun to drive. But nevertheless, what do you say? Santorini? Alright, I'll do that. All time. This would be one of Foxy's vehicles. So like some vehicles are more effective. Okay. Double flamethrower on here. Nice. 13,000 power score. But you can see the power score goes up, obviously, the more parts and then the strength of the parts that are on here. So, and you can see, like I said before, you can tell that it is made for combat because it's got 14 of 14 energy. Well, I shouldn't say made for combat, because somebody could use up all their energy on things like boosters and not have any weapons still. But nevertheless, there are things on here, obviously, for combat as well. It has a high durability, it's got a high power score, so, yeah, absolutely, no problem, Foxy. So nevertheless, there are ways to get different types of builds, and all the parts have some value to you, whether they're for design only or in most cases they're going to count as some kind of armor as well. Now, some of the parts that you might have access to, if you look, I'm looking in my storage. These are the parts I have access to right now, which isn't a ton, but whatever. You might find a part like the buggy floor here, which I'll just set it on the ground. You see how open that part is? That's what they call a shoot-through part, meaning it doesn't provide armor against most weapons. So for like bullet, or at least against some weapons, I should say, for like bullets and autocannons and things like that, for machine guns and autocannons and stuff like that, they're going to fire right through that. But other things that kind of affect the whole area, like explosions and fire and stuff like that, they're still going to hit this part, and then it will provide some protection against that, but not really a whole lot, because the damage is still going to go through it as well. But it will hit this and whatever's behind it in most cases. But parts like that do say on them that they can be shot through, I believe. Yeah, can be shot through. But various makeshift pipe structures can be shot through. That kind of thing. So anyway, my particular storage is divided up by type right now. So if you can see, you'll have multiple cabins to choose from. Some of the various different rarity positions or rankings, and you'll have different benefits to those cabins. So a lot of folks are going to try to get the maximum effect that they can get out of their builds, so they're going to optimize by matching the right weapon choices with the right cabin and other parts that can augment the effectiveness of those weapons and things like that. And then you also get into which co-driver you have with you, and there's one for each faction, which is going to bring us to the factions, actually. But all that would be able to maximize the effectiveness of your overall vehicle. You have to have the only mandatory things you have to have for the vehicle to count at all is a frame and a cabin. You have to have, the cabin has to mount on a frame, and you have to have a cabin to have a vehicle. If you don't have a cabin, you don't have a vehicle. So you have to have the frame first, just one frame piece and a cabin, and it'll count that as a vehicle, and you can go into battle. The problem with that is that you're going to have any wheels or any kind of way to drive around. You're not going to have any vehicle, any weapons or anything like that to defend yourself. You're just going to be literally sitting there with a frame and a cabin, whatever. So obviously you want to expand on that. But nevertheless, then you get into different weapon types. You have autocannons, you have missile launchers, rocket launchers, all kinds of different stuff. There are a bunch of them. There are drones, there are flamethrowers, there's all kinds of stuff. You have different generators that will... your cabin provides a certain number of energy points. That's how many items that drain... Some items use energy points, and like all weapons use some kind of energy points. All right, some amount of energy points. So you have to have some of those energy points available in order to put a weapon on something. So like if I went to... The Gorilla is the starter vehicle. All right, this is what you start with as a new person in the vehicle or in the game, and it has 7 energy points. See where it says at the bottom, adds energy 7 points. Without anything further, without a generator also being attached to it, you would be able to apply 7 points of items to the Gorilla based vehicle, a vehicle with the Gorilla cabin as its cabin. You can only have one cabin on your vehicle. And by 7 energy points, when you get into the weapons down here, you can see what I say here. LM54 Cord, which is your basic machine gun, uses 2 energy drain. Sledgehammer, which is a rare level shotgun, uses 3 energy drain. So you could have 2 cords for 4 energy and 1 sledgehammer, for example, for set to a total out to 7 energy, and then you'd be done. You wouldn't have energy for anything else as far as any other weapons or anything like that to attach to that Gorilla cabin without augmenting it with a generator. And by a generator, that would be a part down here, for example, since mine is divided by type, like I said. You've got a few different generators to choose from. You've got like the big G here, only adds 1 extra. That would get you to 8, for example. You can only have 1 generator also on your vehicle. The Ampere would provide 2. A PU1 charge provides 2. The gas gen provides 3, and then when you get all the way up to the Apollo, for example, it provides 4. So the most energy that you can have on your vehicle, honestly, is you can get a legendary vehicle that provides 12 points of energy, and then apply the Apollo, which is a legendary generator, to make it up to 16 points of energy. So that's a lot to work with when you're talking about little things that only use 2 and 3 energy. But most of your standard weapons, once you get to a certain baseline, are going to be in the 4 I'll say 4 range. 4 is the average. You know, you'll have some things that cost less as far as weapons are concerned. You'll have some things that cost less, the weaker weapons and stuff like that for the most part, and you're gonna have some things that cost more, 5s and 6s even. But like the Retcher, for example, legendary grenade launcher over here uses 6 points of energy. So even with 16 energy available, in the case of like what I was talking about, a 12 energy cabin and a 4 energy generator, you can apply 2 Retchers and then still have 4 energy available, because that would be 12 points, and then still have 4 energy available for other things. It could be another weapon, or it could be things that affect the vehicle in other ways beyond that, beyond just weapons. You have coolers. Coolers will reduce your cooldown. Coolers, coolers will reduce your cooldown. And then the radiators will reduce or increase the amount of time that the weapon can fire before it overheats. Because you'll note when we look at weapons and stuff like that, they have, well, not that one. Something like this will have a time to overheating. Not all of them do, but a lot of weapons will have a time where they'll boom, 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 and then they're overheated and they got to pause for a second and cool down. Then boom, 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 boom. Coolers will reduce that pause. And radiators will increase the boom, 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 boom time before they hit the pause, in other words. So if you do that in combination, you can fire longer and then have a shorter cooldown as well, for example. These are the kind of things that you start to piece together when you're designing what you want your vehicle effect to be. And then you have things like ammo packs, because some weapons, like machine guns, you would think, use ammo, but they don't. Machine guns and shotguns, they have endless ammo. Not a problem with any of that stuff. Autocannons, same thing. But things like cannons and rocket launchers, they have a specific set of ammo. And it says max ammo, 16 volleys, for example, for this rocket launcher. Or max ammo, 10 pieces for the cannon, and things like that. So because those, or same thing with the Retchers, max ammo, how many, it's a grenade launcher. Same type of thing. Because they have a specific amount of ammo, you can create also ammo packs, which will increase your amount of ammo by 30%, or a epic level ammo pack, increase it by 110%, for example. Now, what's the downside of having this? A, it takes up space, and then you have to build around it, because you also don't want it to get hit, because it has to be hidden inside for the most part, not on the outside of your vehicle, because you see how it has blast power. When it gets hit, it explodes. Like it says, explodes when destroyed. Things like that. You can have radars, where you have radars that will even find invisible vehicles, because you can have stealth modules that will make your vehicle invisible. You can have radars that automatically not only find the enemy, but also broadcast the information to allies within a certain radius. So all your allies will see those enemy that you are detecting with your radar on their mini-map as well. Otherwise, you can have a radio. If you have a type of radar like this one, for example, that only detects enemies, but it doesn't broadcast, then you would need a radio combined with that in order to let your allies know where your enemies are. When you play in PvP, there are other things. You can have rocket boosters, you can have car jacks, because sometimes your build may be top heavy, or you just may hit terrain or something like that in such a way that you get knocked over on your side or upside down or anything like that, and then you have to use a car jack to lift you back up. There are various aspects, or various other things that you can have applied to your vehicle for different effects. But note, a lot of these things do require energy drain. The car jack uses up one of those energy drain, item, or 1 point of energy, basically. So if you get into that kind of situation, you get where you're using up your energy on things that aren't helping you necessarily in the battle per se, but they might be helping you get back into the battle. Everything's a trade-off. If you build a low, flat, wide vehicle, your likelihood of being flipped over is a lot less. So in that case, you may not have to apply a car jack in there, for example. Like Red just popped up. If you're using tank treads instead of wheels, a lot of times it seems like it affects your center of gravity more just by having them, because they easily flip a lot easier than vehicles with wheels do, at least. Additionally, if you're playing in PvP battles, and I'll show you the battles here in a moment, then you may want to apply fuel tanks and fuel barrels in order to accrue fuel. I touched on before that the green number up here is your fuel. You have 200 fuel in your tank, right? That's the max that your tank itself can hold, but you can have more in storage. In your storage tab here, since my stuff is divided by type, my resources are down at the bottom. So if you come down here, I have fuel. I don't have very much. I've only got 50 fuel right now. But if I wanted to increase that number, then I would apply a fuel tank or a fuel barrel or both to my vehicle. Let's come back up here. Fuel tank will give you 10 liters of fuel if you survive the battle, and fuel barrel will give you 5 liters of fuel if you survive the battle in a PvP battle. You can't have multiple fuel tanks and receive any benefit. I mean, you could put them on there, but you're still only getting 10 liters of fuel. Same thing with fuel barrels. You're only getting 5. You can't have multiple tanks. They don't stack with each other. But they do stack. I mean, they don't stack with themselves as far as multiple fuel barrels. But they do stack with each other. And as much as you can have 1 fuel barrel and 1 fuel tank and get a maximum of 15 fuel if you survive the battle in PvP modes. Okay? Or in the PvP, specifically in the PvP missions, I should say. Not just all PvP. Specifically in PvP missions. Like it says, allows to earn more fuel in missions. All right, and I'll get into the difference between missions and raids here in a minute. I know it's all a lot to take in if you're new to the game, but still. Like I said, there are lots of different types of parts. You can get into all kinds of different design features and everything. And then a lot of them also, there are various types that are stronger than others, but they may also weigh more. And you get into the mass limit that your vehicle can hold. You can have an engine assigned. You can have an engine on your vehicle to increase its speed and its power, and then that might help you. But without some of those things, or even everything's got a limit. Basically, you can only hold so much, regardless, depending on what pieces and parts you put at its core that are providing the amount of mass and power, the amount of power it can put forth, and the amount of mass that it can support. You know, then you apply all these pieces and parts, and ultimately you get to a weight where, you know, you might be on the fringe of, okay, if I put any more parts on here, my vehicle is barely going to be able to move. It's just going to crawl. It happens. So there's a lot of redesign and stuff that you'll end up doing, I'm sure, as you start to put together, especially anybody who's new to the game and is starting to figure it out. You have, like I said, passive melee weapons as well. These are weapons that don't take power drain at all. They do damage. Lots of them have varying damage. You see the damage bar. That one does this a little bit, but this one, on the other hand, does a lot when it impacts the enemy. But these all actually have to hit the enemy. You have to run into the enemy with them, or the enemy runs into you. Either way. You have flags that you can put on that will give you a bonus to your reputation with a particular faction. You can have other decor items that also increase reputation gain, like hologram projectors, fireworks, horns, all kinds of different things that apply a reputation gain, excuse me. Your headlights, things like this. All of those items can apply a certain amount of reputation gain. You can only have enough of those parts on your vehicle. Well, you can have them all on your car, but the most that these parts are going to provide you is 25% bonus to reputation gain. So once you have that on there, you know, once you get to 25%, anything beyond that is just decor. That's all it is. Now, when I'm talking about reputation, that's basically the in-game experience points. That's what's going to level you up with each of the factions. And I'll get into the factions again in just one second. I'm going to come back to, like I mentioned it before, and I'm going to come back to that factions tab in just one second. Additionally, you can have paints, and you can have customization kit items, CK items, which can make, like, this weapon will look different if I apply this customization kit to it. these wheels can look different. This weapon can look different. This cab can look different if I place customization kits. And then you have stickers that you can apply on your vehicle as well. And then, of course, you have your various resources. Because, as I mentioned at the very beginning, you craft parts. In addition to being rewarded parts various other ways, you can also craft specific parts, whatever you want. And you can use those parts. You can use those parts as precursor parts to craft a higher rarity item. And we'll get into that when we get to the workshops here in a minute. Or you can sell those parts on the market, which I already have touched on. The market is supply and demand motivated, definitely. Prices will fluctuate, and the market itself will give you information on a part. For example, the retchers, like I have 2 of these in my storage. For example, you can see how the price has fluctuated just in the last few hours. Here it was $27.99 coins. Here it was $26.41 coins. You know, so you can see, wow, that's a pretty big drop. Actually, 2605. No, what is that? 2605. Yeah, I don't. That's a pretty big drop. 27.99 to 2605. Yeah, for example. But nevertheless, yeah, it's a 200 coin difference almost. Wow. Anyway, so yeah, so you can see some market. Right, absolutely. Some market fluctuation. You can see what they're going for, all this stuff. You basically make a bid, and in order to purchase, and then see if somebody's willing to match it or whatever, and then you might get the item that you want. But like I said also before, is that you are earning reputation. And remember also that you get 50% more of your rewards, be it resources or reputation, if you have your premium subscription as well. But here, you earn the reputation in order to level up with the various factions. You always are a member of the Engineers faction. The Engineers are always listed as your current faction. They are the only ones through which you have access to manufacture common items, which are the white level items. When you click on a faction, it'll give a description of it. It'll give a list of blueprints that they automatically provide you as you level up. So like if I hit all here, for example, these are vehicle blueprints that the Engineers will provide you as you level up with them. And by blueprints, I'm talking about these are auto-built, just like if you bought a pack or whatever. This is an auto-built thing from your garage where you would just be able to click on this button right here, which shows your blueprints, and you can change vehicles because it would sit in here, or be an option, excuse me, because you have faction tab here, and you could select those vehicles without you having to piece all the parts together yourself and remake that vehicle every time. If you wanted to use that vehicle, you literally just come in here and you select it, and there it is, you know. So like for example, here's the ones we were just looking at with the Engineers. All right, so that's where blueprints sit, is right in here, and that's the easy way to remake a vehicle from scratch without you having to go through the pieces and parts to do so. But if we go back to factions and I look each of these, and you'll see that there's one more over here. Each of these factions has its own level and reputation tracking on it. So like with fire starters, you can see, I wish that pop-up wouldn't pop up there. There you go. You can see I'm 8th level with fire starters, and this diamond that goes around shows what progress I have toward 9th level. So you can see I'm almost halfway to 9th level with them. Whereas with Dawn's Children, I'm 12th level with them, and I'm almost 13th level with them. That kind of thing. Engineers, and once you get to, I think, 15th level with any of these things, then you start earning elite levels with them, I believe. Engineers, you go to 30th level, and then you start earning elite levels with them. So I'm 30th, I've achieved 30th level, and every time you achieve another level, you start getting an elite level. I've got 26 elite levels, for example, with Engineers. And as you level up, it unlocks some of those blueprints for you. It also unlocks access to their workbenches. Workbenches are where you craft the items that you specifically want. You can look on the technology tree and see item options. These are weapons. Here's hardware. Here's movement parts. And you can see the titles for the different sections: light wheels, medium wheels, things like that. And their hardware, special modules, stealth, radars, scopes, generators. You can see them sorted by rarity. The frame and cabin pieces that you can craft are in here, the different cabins. It'll show you the information. You can click on that to see the information definitely as well. If you wanted to see, like say you see a weapon that's in game and you go, you know what, I would really like to get that weapon myself. What is that weapon? And you figure out that the weapon you're looking for is the equalizer, for example. All right, it's craftable. It requires these 3 items in order to make it. It shows how many of those items that you need in order to make it. So 1 AC-50 Storm, which you can click this and it'll show you what's necessary to make an AC-50 Storm. 1 Sinus Zero machine gun, which I don't have currently, but you can click this and it would show you what's necessary. And 1 Ampere generator, which I do have as well. And you can click that to see what's necessary. And then it shows the resources necessary to make that item as well. So 100 scrap, of which I have 15,000. 200 wires, of which I have 579. 150 copper, of which I have 28,000. And 100 plastic, of which I have 3,600 plastic currently. It would take 6 hours to create the item, and it's going to cost you 15 coins, and you're going to use these parts. You don't just have to have these parts in your storage as a prerequisite. Those parts are going to be burned up in the production of the equalizer. And it says where you can manufacture the item, which workbench you need to have access to. Nomad headquarters, all right? The Nomads, the purple level, meaning the epic level. So, like, for the Sinus Zero, like, since I have all the other requirements except for the Sinus Zero, if I thought about, oh, maybe I'll make an equalizer, what I need to do is see what I need to make the Sinus Zero first. If I click it, you can see the Sinus Zero requires these resources, 6 coins, 2 hours, also on the Nomads, and requires a Vector machine gun and an AC-43 rapier, or a Papa, as Moogles likes to call it. And as a result, I could make this right now, the Sinus Zero, then I would have the necessary parts to make the equalizer, for example. So, or you can just go on the market and buy the equalizer. It's up to you, whatever method you want to go about. You know, no judgment. If you want to buy things. But nevertheless, that's how, this is information you can see on the factions tree. This stuff is all stuff for your test track area where we were driving around that car earlier. It's not, I mean, it's just nice to have. It doesn't affect your gameplay in any way. It's just something extra to have if you're into that. But as you level up, in the beginning, you're only going to have access to the common workbench. But as you level up with engineers, you're going to eventually gain access to this workbench and then this workbench. And what I mean by that is if you select this as a workbench, you'll see the actual parts that you can produce here from this workbench. Now you'll see that not all of them are white. You can produce a one-day engineer flag. You can produce a paint container that will give you random paint. You can also produce a legend container that contains a usable legendary part, but it's only usable for 24 hours. So it's up to you if you want to spend those resources on something that you're only going to have benefit for 24 hours or not. Repair kits, for example, are something that will enable you to fix your car if you're in a raid and you get destroyed. You can use a repair kit to respawn, basically. Now, when you're in raids, you will get one free respawn, and I'll touch on raids and mission types here in a moment as well, because that's going to bring us back to the fuel idea. Why you might want to hoard up some fuel. Nevertheless, so like I said, you're going to unlock these workbenches.
as you level up with the faction. Engineers will always have this little yellow check mark next to it and indicate that it is your current faction. You're never going to not be active and current with engineers. In addition to engineers, though, once you get to 10th level with engineers, then you will gain access to unlocking lunatics, scavengers, and nomads. Once you unlock one of those, once you select to unlock and make one of those a active faction for you, you will start gaining experience with them in addition to engineers. Now, currently, Nomads is my active faction. That's why it has the little yellow checkbox up here, and that's why it's in this larger box up here at the top. So those are my active factions. I'm gaining experience and reputation with Nomads at the same time as with engineers. All right? And that, thus, I'm unlocking, or I would have been, I've already unlocked all their workbenches, but I would have been unlocking access to Nomad-specific gear that you can only craft on Nomad workbenches, for example, okay? I'm still unlocking vehicle blueprints. When I hit 15th level with the Nomads, I'll unlock this vehicle blueprint. There's some more equipment that will still be, here, I'll hit the all here to show. At level 11, I unlocked these pieces. It was given to me for free. You know, these pieces were given to me at 13, at 14. When I hit 15, I'll unlock and get a couple of these pieces for free. For example, prestige levels, I'll unlock and get more pieces. Follow? Alright, and then when you get up to the higher level stuff, you can get access to, for example, building the Retcher, which is what I did. You can build a couple of these. It's going to cost you a bunch because you're going to have these prerequisites, each of which is going to have their prerequisites and their resource parts and their coins and their time costs, and each of those, because you see that's purples, there would be, each of those purples would have prerequisite parts that are turquoise, and each of their resources and costs, and each of those turquoise are going to have prerequisites that are blue, and each of their prerequisite parts and costs, and each of the blues are going to have their prerequisite parts that were whites, that were common items, which again, only engineers have access to the white. I know that sounds a bit confusing, but it all starts to make sense once you get into it. Once you get to 10th level with the Nomad, Scavengers, and Lunatics, then you start to unlock Steppenwolves, Dawn's Children, and Fire Starters. So once you get to 10th level Nomads, unlocks Steppenwolves. 10th level Scavengers unlocks Dawn's Children. 10th level Lunatics unlocks Fire Starters. And then you gain access to their workbenches and their blueprints and their vehicle parts that they give you as you level up with them. And you'll note that there are themes, like Fire Starters are gonna have obviously fire type stuff. They're gonna have it's a lot more spikier and stuff like that in appearance as well, and junky and everything. Oh, Nomads was Dawn's Children. Okay, then Scavengers is Steppenwolves. Then okay, I've had those two backwards, but I know Lunatics is Fire Starters. I know that much. Dawn's Children is more space type stuff. Like it's supposed to be, that's where they have hovers and such. They have plasma guns. They have cabins that look like they're off of some kind of, lunar rover or a Mars rover or something like that. So Steppenwolves are very military. They have armor personnel carrier parts, tank parts, things like that. Tow missile launchers, stuff like that. When you get up in here, you get these big APC cabins and stuff like that. So you can see that they have design themes in addition to specific weapon types that they favor as well. So you're going to choose those, and you're going to be able to level up with those. When you unlock those, you also unlock access to a co-driver. And here are the list of co-drivers. And here are the symbols for the factions that they represent. And then you'll unlock access to one of them, and you'll see over here they have particular skills. The outer circle, like they're going to start up here at level 1. They're going to gain experience as you gain experience. So the co-driver here is going to have, the guy Squirrel ignores. I ignore my co-drivers. I never pay attention to it. I always forget. But they're going to gain, as they gain experience toward the progress of toward a certain skill, like this particular one. Bulldog is level 7, for example. His next level will be in this many reputation points, for example. He's a Lunatic's co-driver. As he gains experience toward the next level, you can see how this outer circle is not complete. So that would show when it completes, then that would, because he's level 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across the top, 6, 7. He's working toward 8. He needs that many more reputation before he gets level 8. And then this would be the ability that he would have available to him to purchase. Now, what I mean by that is there's no actual cost to purchasing these for like 1 through 4, but every 5th level, there is a cost in resources. You can see right here, required resources. So he has the experience to gain this benefit, self-destruct blast radius plus 5%, but I would have to spend 900 scrap and 300 copper or whatever and 80 coupons in order to get it. So it really depends on what you're looking at doing. If you really have a build that is heavily shotgun oriented, for example, this guy's good for that. A lot of his bonuses are shotgun related, for example. He also has some melee weapon effects that are bonuses as well. So if you look at this guy, for example, this guy would be a great co-driver if you have a very close range fighting style. You want to rush in on the enemy and use melee weapons and shotguns, which are close range, guns and stuff like that. Then this guy's a great co-pilot for you, co-driver for you. You want to level him up, and you want to go ahead and get a bunch of these levels or these skills, for him. Like, so far, he has just these 4 skills because I have not spent the resources, or these 4 bonuses, I should say, because I have not spent the resources on the 5th. And you can see the summary of what he has currently active down here at the bottom. Master Jack, for example, is the Engineers faction, so you're going to have access to him right off the bat. And he's got a little bit of everything. Some shotguns, some autocannons, some machine guns and miniguns bonuses, some drones bonuses, cabin bonuses, a little bit of everything. It's funny that they call him Master Jack, and I think to myself, and it's probably a play on words, considering you say he's more of a jack of all trades and master of none, really. So anyway. But like Perseus here is good for machine guns and miniguns. And you can see I've got him to 14th level. I just didn't spend the resources to get him to 15th level. But he's great for machine guns and miniguns otherwise. So you pick your co-pilot there. Your co-pilot's faction does not have to match your current active faction, though. So just because I'm using Nomads as my current active faction does not mean that I had to go in here and pick the Nomad Perseus as my co-pilot or co-driver. Currently, it happens to match up. He is the Nomad's co-driver, and I'm also actively with the Nomads right now. But it doesn't have to be that way. I could switch to Lunatics and have no penalty for having Perseus here. So that's something to keep in mind. Anyway, as you are crafting items and deciding what direction you want a particular build to go, like, ooh, I want to make a machine gun build, or I want to make an autocannon build, or whatever, then you may find it easier, instead of having to dig through the workbenches here, to use that technology tree that I was talking about, if you know of a particular part, and it'll tell you which factions you need to have active at which time, which faction workbenches you need to have access to in order to make a particular item, in other words. And that might be your better way for planning purposes, at least, figuring out how you want to progress. Then we get into the modes here, because I want to touch on raids versus missions. You may have seen that terminology used a little bit in a couple of those references that I've already talked about, raids versus missions. These buttons up here are important in as much as you can always test drive whatever vehicle you have here on your test track just by hitting this button. I'll touch that real quick because that doesn't take very long. The doors will open up to your garage. You're going to come out to your test track. You're going to see a few features on your test track. First off, you're going to see an exact replica of whatever vehicle you are currently driving sitting right here. The reason for that, it will not fight back against you if you shoot at it, but it will demonstrate to you how long it might take your current vehicle to kill your current vehicle. In other words, how durable is that vehicle, and or how effective are the weapons that my vehicle that I am driving right now has in comparison. So like if I start shooting up that vehicle, all right, so you'll see two sets of damage numbers also popping up in this case, because the white numbers are me hitting structure parts that are not resulting in the death of the vehicle specifically. They're just blowing off pieces off the side of the vehicle, all right? The yellow numbers are numbers that are being reduced from the vehicle's life. In other words, I'm hitting the cabin. So you'll see the number at the very bottom of the screen under my vehicle. You'll see, first off, that I have 3 little bullet symbols along with the left mouse button symbol above that. That indicates if I push the left mouse button, then those those weapons, are going to fire. And you can see them starting to overheat. That's what the yellow is coming up. When it hits the top, it has to do a cooldown all the way down to the bottom before I can fire again. All right. You'll see below that 529 and a bar across the top. That is how many hit points, or how much durability, in other words, my cabin has. And that bar represents how full it is. That's going to go down as the numbers go down also. Just to give you a graphical representation of what the numbers are percentage-wise of your life of your vehicle. As you get shot, you're not going to see the yellow and the white numbers popping up above your vehicle. You're only going to see the damage that you inflict, but whoever's shooting you is going to see the numbers popping up over your vehicle as they shoot you. So as you shoot, like say I shoot that tire, see how only a white number came up? 999. Well, that tire only had so much durability, and I just shot it off. I hit 9 like 3 or 4 times, and then 17, and boom, that tire just flew off. Right? No yellow number came up because I wasn't hitting the cab. So it wasn't effective. If that was another player, they were not seeing that number at the bottom of the screen being reduced by me shooting their tire. That was not reducing their cab, thus it was not effectively killing them in any way. But as that bar goes down, it'll turn red at a point. The number 529, for example, for this particular cab will be reduced also. And eventually, when it gets to 0, you're dead. Your cab will explode, and your vehicle is done. All right? As you're shooting, you want to get yellow numbers. That results in the death of the individual. Okay? The only exception for that is if you are trying to accomplish a challenge that says destroy this many parts, then try to get white numbers. Try to shoot for periphery. Try to shoot for the external features. Don't try to blow up the cab in that case, because if you blow up the car, even though technically you could say, well, once the car blows up, all the parts are, destroyed. No, that's not the way it works. Once the car blows up, it stops counting, anything about destruction of parts for you. So you want to shoot just the white parts and stuff like that. Or, like Red also mentions, you don't necessarily want to blow up the car right away. If it's heavily armored, but it has weapons that you can see and you're fighting the thing, aim for the weapons. Shoot the weapons off. Don't worry about trying to kill the vehicle yet, because if it's shooting you at the same time, if it's got a bunch of pieces between you and its cabin, you're wasting time trying to get through the armor while it's shooting you. It can destroy you before you get to its cabin, necessarily. So in that case, you want to shoot off their weapons so that they have nothing shooting back at you, and then you can take your time shooting off all those parts all you want or whatever in order to get to the cabin, because it's not shooting back at you and destroying you. Because ultimately then it becomes a who gets who first, if you're both shooting for each other's cab. But if you're shooting their weapons, then it's not about who gets who first anymore, because now you have all the time in the world. So when you come out into your test track, though, you're going to see like I said, an exact copy of your vehicle sitting there, and you can destroy it, whatever, just to show you how strong the vehicle is. Okay. Likewise, if you happen to have a Leviathan made, which is going to be later on, a Leviathan is a much larger vehicle, considerably larger, and it has like 60 mine has like 65 power, I think, or whatever on it. So, it's, you know, chock full of weapons and stuff like that. You would see a copy of that sitting over there as well. Okay. Again, those don't fight back. Now, additionally, you see this white stripe on the ground. That is, if you pull up to that white stripe, then these range markers are accurate. Well, this one, I guess one of the vehicles driving around took away this range marker. But this one would be at 50 meters, and this would give you an idea of, so you can test weapons, because some weapons have bullet drop, and you can't adjust a scope for that. You have to do what they call Kentucky windage, where you, like, instead of adjusting my scope so that I'm still keep my scope on target, I have to instead just raise my gun, basically. So I have to raise my cursor, you know, depending on what weapon it is. These machine guns don't really have much of any bullet drop, so if I shoot here or if I shoot there, they just have a limited range anyway. So if I get out here, I'm not even sure if, yeah, okay, they'll hit that, but I don't know that they'll go any further than that. Yeah, I don't think they're, yeah, I guess it will, or maybe, yeah. But nevertheless, they don't have the longest range. But the point is, if you're standing at this line, that's 50 meters, this vehicle with a target on it. 100 meters is 150, there's 200, and then there's 300 or whatever back there. So it allows you an idea, as you're getting used to a weapon perhaps that's new to you, of how you have to adjust for Kentucky windage based on what you're seeing, you know, from target range. What's going on, Barry? Tinage Barry? So you have that available to you on your test track. Additionally, for just driving, you have various terrain features. Oh, thanks, Tinaj. Much appreciated. Very much appreciated. Additionally, you have these right here. You have ramps and stuff, so you can see how your vehicle flies around and how it handles. Right now, this doesn't have a ton of power on it, so it's not going super fast or anything like that. And but the other thing you may have noticed are these vehicles driving around. If you have friends in your in-game friend list, then the game will randomly pick 5 of your friends, your friends off your friend list, and it will take their active vehicle from their garage and it will put it in your test track. All right, so you'll have up to 5 friends if you have enough friends in your friend list, and they will be driving around here. But it's not obviously the player driving around. It's just a bot-controlled version of their active vehicle from their garage driving around. Now, you'll note that they pull up to you and they ask if you want to honk, basically, like this. I can do a friendly honk, and you see wires 1 popped up on the far left. That means I just got a little bit of resources for being friendly with my friend. Do I have to be friendly with my friend? I do not. I can also fight my friend and destroy them and also get resources. So you can see either way you want to play it. If you want to test your vehicle in battle in your test track, you can do that against your friends' vehicles. All right, they will fight back to you and fight back against you, unlike these just static targets, and unlike the copy of your vehicle that was over here. Your friends will fight back against you. Additionally, there is another section of your test track, usually walled off like this. There are a couple of different test tracks. That's why I'm saying usually, because not all the test tracks are this one. If you come here, you see these little red markers coming out. Those are bots that come to fight you. And your allies can fight against them as well. But, like this one is fighting. And so you can fight these battle bots to test your vehicle as well. Or you can just, if you're by this little control box here, you can hit R and eliminate the battle box from your test track. All you have to do is hit escape to get back into your garage at any time. You can do a 360 view of your vehicle. You can piece your vehicle together by individual parts with this build button here. There, you can hit C to lift your vehicle up if you wanted to get up under it, for example, and grab your frame pieces. You can C will lower it back down. You can, you know, like I said, you can move the different parts. You can see the statistics for the different parts popping up right here. For example, this cabin says it has a max speed of 75 kilometers per hour. That's its power level, the tonnage, the mass limit that it can support by itself. It adds 8 points of energy. There's a certain amount of durability, and then mass. I'm sorry, the 529 points, I believe, was the whole thing. It was the whole durability. That was what was listed under the bottom. 529 points was the durability of the entire vehicle. If you haven't taken any damage, none of that durability is coming off. Once the durability would tick off from the number, and then the graphic representation would be based on your cabin life, the bar. So I misspoke before. I was saying that the number was the cabin, and that's not true. It's the total. It's your total durability. But nevertheless, now I touched on fuel. I touched on why that you might want to hoard fuel in order to enable you to do things with it, and that you have 200 liters of fuel in your tank. That tops off every day, so if at some point during the course of your play session during the day you get down to, say, 50 fuel, and then you log off, well, the next day when you log in at midnight Greenwich Mean Time, you'll be back at 200 fuel. So in other words, you basically just got given 150 fuel for free. If we're down at 0, then you'll still be back at 200 fuel. So you got given 200 fuel for free. So obviously, if you're looking at using the fuel, then you want to maximize it by getting yourself down to 0 before you log off, basically, so that the next day you get 200 free fuel. You get maximum benefit from it. What the fuel is used for are what are called raids. And raids and missions and brawls and some other special events sometimes are different types of battles that you can get into in Crossout. So if we go into select mode, we're going to see this now. This is a map, obviously. It looks like a map. And it's got little city areas and woods and a little more deserty out here. And that coincides with the different battle maps, the different actual play areas that you conduct your battles on. So if you look at these top 4 up here, they are not specifically assigned to a geographic location on the map, though. So in other words, these ones, if you click on these ones, they're going to have a random map each time as far as where you're fighting. Okay, so don't view them the same as these ones that are on the map. These ones are hovering above the map instead. All right, these are not a specific representation of a specific geographic location. But these top 3 are PvP arena type battles, basically. The maps change randomly. There are several maps to choose from, basically, or whatever. It's going to be random. And the only difference between them is that this one has no minimum power score. It only has a minimum of being 4th level with engineers. This one has a minimum power score of 4,000, and you have to be 10th level with one of the factions beyond engineers, which is lunatics, scavengers, or nomads. And then this one has a 5,000 power score minimum. I'm sorry, correction. This one you only had to be 10th level with engineers and 4,000 power score. This one has a 5,000 power score. This one has a level 5 requirement of lunatics, nomads, or scavengers. And then the only other difference between the 3 is the fact that this one rewards scrap as a resource. This one rewards wires, as a resource, and this one rewards batteries as a resource. They are titled accordingly. Get the scrap metal, get the wires, and get the batteries. So it should be easy to figure out which one does what. But other than that, they are all the same effectively. So if you're running a 6,000 power score vehicle, you could fight in any of these 3 because you meet the minimum requirements for them, as long as you also meet the minimum level requirements, of course. And you would be able to fight for batteries, for scrap, or for wires. That's the only difference that you would find, because the game is going to match you up with people of approximately your same power score to fight, and to fight alongside. These are 8-on-8 battles, all 3 of them. At least half the teams on each side, 4 players at least on each side, have to be human. And then if there's not enough, and then it's going to keep them evenly matched. So one might be 5 humans and the other might be 4 humans. Then the 5th person would go to the other team that had 4, and it'd be 5-on-5, then 6-on-5, then 6-on-6, things like that, as humans fill in the blanks. Ultimately, when it's time for the match, if not enough humans have filled in the blanks to complete 8 on each side, then it's going to fill in the blanks with bots. All right. But at least half of each team is going to be humans in these PvP matches, which are these top 3. This one here is called Patrol, and it is a battle against AI vehicles. It counts as a mission also, which you'll note in the wording here where it says get wires, it says mission versus survivors. This one says mission versus survivors, and this one says mission versus survivors. This one says battle against AI bots, but it counts as a mission as well. Missions are those PvP battles for the most part, with the exception of this one being PvE in the sense that you're fighting bots. Effectively, though, it's no different than the PvP ones, except for since you're fighting against AI, it's easier, and therefore you have a much higher chance of success in the patrol battles. The others are obviously 50-50 because it's other people you're playing against. It just depends on their skill, their weapon, their vehicle build, all this stuff. The bots, as you go up in level, don't think that they're not necessarily pretty tough, because they can be. When you get up in higher power score, they can be pretty destructive as well. Don't get me wrong. But at low power score, they're pretty easy wins in general, definitely. It rewards less than the reward rate for scrap and for reputation is lower for patrol missions because they're considered easier battles. But because they're easier battles, especially at the low power score, you can crank them out. You can just go boom, 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 so much faster than the PvP battles. So, but you cannot earn fuel from patrol. You can only earn fuel from these up here, these 3 PvP missions up here. Okay, so if you have a fuel tank assigned to your vehicle, or a fuel barrel, or both, you can only get fuel by surviving one of these PvP battles up here. But in the patrol missions, they do qualify as missions, like I said, and we'll get into the importance of that when we get to the challenges tab, which was going to be right after this. Okay, right after this mode tab here. And then we're going to start doing our actual challenges, and we'll get into some gameplay. So on here, you'll see sometimes you'll see, or all the time, you'll see a couple of things that are locked off, that are locked because they don't offer all the same battle options at all times. So this is available in 3 days and 6 hours. This is available in 6 hours and 41 minutes. But where this is available in 6 hours and 41 minutes, this one over here closes in 6 hours and 40 minutes. So this one will not be available, and this one will open up, for example. This map will change in 6 hours and 41 minutes for this kind of battle here, and they have different rules to them. Like this one, Battle Royale is no holds barred. Everybody starts in the same cars. You're all driving mostly harmless cars, and then you drive around and you pick up things on the battlefield that equip your weapon or your vehicle with different abilities or whatever, and then you fight each other to succeed on that one. This one is completely no rules, no rewards. You don't get any rewards for playing it. It's any power score, doesn't even matter. There's no time limit. There's no requirements for your vehicle. There's no restrictions to your vehicle. There's no power score, balancing, nothing. You just get in there and go at it. This one here has a specific requirement. For example, only using wheels. So vehicles with hovers would not be allowed to use this, for example. You have to have wheels in order to do this mini race here. For this one, you have to have a cannon equipped. Otherwise, you're not eligible to do this battle. Then you have, this one is a battle against Leviathans. This would be, you have a 4-man team, and you are fighting a few waves of some adds, some additional bots, as well as a Leviathan. And once you defeat that Leviathan, then a successful, or a progressively more powerful Leviathan and some more adds, you'll have to defeat that, and then another one. You'll have to do a couple of different waves of these, but in order to succeed. But you can see it gives a pretty high reward amount for it in the sense of 150 coupons, for example, as well as a lot of copper for it. And then you see where it says requirements, and it says you have to have a power score 5,000 vehicle. You have to be level 10 at least with the engineers. And that 40 with the little teardrop, you see how that matches the green gas tank symbol up there in the very top. That means it's going to cost you 40 fuel to do that battle. So you're actually going to drain 40 fuel from your gas tank. You're going to go down to 160 of 200 in your gas tank in order to do that battle. If you want the rewards for that battle, then you're going to spend a little bit of the gas tank in order to do it. And that's why you might want to do fuel farming, basically, by having the fuel barrel and the fuel tank on your vehicle when you do other PvP missions. If you survive and you start to accumulate fuel in your storage, you can use that fuel to refill your gas tank and conduct more of these missions and not be limited to only, like, say 5 of these in a day, and that's it, and then have to stop because you don't have any fuel. Or your other option would be buy fuel on the market from people who are fuel farming, basically, in order to gain money. And then you also have, and notice how I'm ignoring these green banners so far. I'm looking at the other colored banners so far. This one right here, the Awakening, that's an adventure. It is a very large map, you know, comparatively speaking with the other game maps, definitely. And when you go in there, there is a quest line, but you don't have to follow it. If you do, you can also take your time doing it. Then there's lots of different side quests. Well, there's not lots of different side quests. There are lots of different locations where you can get certain side quests. There's only a few different side quest types, though, so they get pretty repetitive, to be honest. But there is a weekly challenge to complete 20 of those side quests in there, in this mode, in the Awakening mode. Which is a big free sandbox area for you to just drive around, and it's another good place if you want to test your vehicle against bots. I mean, there's no PvE in there, but if you want to test your vehicle build against bots, it's a decent place for that as well. If you don't want to do it on your test track, just come into Awakening and try it. You know, there's no penalty to it at all, and it doesn't cost you anything to go in there to do it. So that's not bad for that. But there's also side quests where there are quest giver. There's like these light poles, and if they're lit up, then that means that they have a quest. Basically, it's just like in any MMO where somebody's standing there with an exclamation point over their head. You know, that means they have a quest. And then when you go over there, you get the quest. It might be like recover some cargo in a specific area, and it'll show on a mini map like a blue circle. Or it might be defeat some enemies within a specific area, and it'll show like a little blue polygon of some kind. And then it might be take this item from here to there, and you just grab the item and go. Or it could be explore these 4 points and see if there's any enemies, and there may not be, who knows, or there may be, you know, whatever. And then there are also group quests, and what those are, they just come up every few minutes, basically, or whatever, where in the sandbox mode, because you're in the sandbox mode, you're not alone. There are other players in there as well, and if a group quest comes up, it may say destroy this vehicle or protect this vehicle as it drives across the map or whatever, or it may say defend this tower against, you know, some groups of bots that are attacking it. And anybody who comes over and takes part in that is going to get credit for the success or for participating, at least in that quest. All right, so. And we're going to touch on why you might want that credit without even having to stand there and spend the time and effort to do it, to be honest, in just a minute when we get to the challenges. Because like I said, remember, there is one that says complete 20 complete 20 side or group quests in the Awakening mode. All right. Well, you get credit for it even if you just barely took part. Like literally, if you drive by, if it says destroy this truck and the truck's driving across the map, you don't have to drive with it and continue to just try to destroy it and destroy it successfully in order to get credit for having taken part in that. You don't even have to drive and continue to try to destroy the truck, and then even if you fail, you get credit for taking part in it. No, all you have to do is drive by once, fire a shot, and leave. And you know what? You took part in it, you'll get credit for it, and then you don't have to spend the time trying to destroy the truck. Move on, do other side quests, knock them out. You know, that way it doesn't take you as long. So there's that. And then we finally get to the green banners here. The green banners here each represent what are called raids. Remember how I told you there are different types? There's missions, there's brawls, there's raids, things like that. All right, so this is, it just says battle for this one, but this is, this one's a brawl. Yeah. The maroon ones say Brawl versus Survivors. This one's a Brawl versus Survivors. These ones up here said missions, remember? And this one didn't say mission, but it counts as a mission. And then these green ones are raids. Raids come in 3 different difficulty levels, as evidenced by the number of stars that are on the banner. 1 stars are easy raids. 2 stars are normal raids. That's what they call them, normal level. And 3 stars are hard raids. They have a fuel cost to conduct raids. 1 stars cost 20 fuel. You'll see right there in the middle where it says requirements, 20 fuel. And you have to be at least level 4 with engineers. Not a big deal. Both of the easy raids award copper, and for each victory in an easy raid, you get 3 coupons. Remember from the co-drivers, one of the costs when you get to 5th level and 10th level and 15th level, one of the things that is expended is coupons. So that's one of the places where the coupons come in handy. That's where you spend those basically. But you get 3 coupons for each victory to a maximum of 6 from easy level raids in the course of a day. And then you also get copper, like I said. Once you achieve your 6, that reward diamond will be like blocked out, and you'll still get copper for any further easy level raids you get, but you won't get any more coupons past 6 from easy level raids. Now, if you see on the parameters or on the details and stuff of the pop-up here from this banner, you see the name of the raid, and there's a paragraph in the middle that kind of gives flavor verbiage. Those 2 things are going to be together at all times, all right? So, in other words, that flavor verbiage is for the Steel Cradle raid type, no matter where that raid type pops up. Right now, it's on the factory map. You see the little map symbol, and it says factory under mission parameters. That's what's at this geographic location on the map. So any banner that appears in this same location is going to be at the factory map, because that's the location of the factory map, okay? The difficulty level is obviously listed up there, easy, and then what faction you're fighting against. Remember how I said earlier that the factions have particular themes, kind of, as far as the design features of their vehicles, and also what weapon types they like to employ, what weapon types are available from their workbenches, and what kind of blueprints they give you? Well, the scavengers vehicles are going to follow that same concept from the scavengers faction thematically that you were looking at if you're looking at building parts off the scavengers. Well, that's the kind of stuff that you can expect to face and go up against if you're fighting scavengers in this raid, for example. Now, the map, the enemy, and the raid type, Steel Cradle, the actual mission, whatever the task is, those 3 things are on a rotational basis, okay? So any 1, 2, or 3 of those things could rotate every hour on the hour. So where it says at the bottom, new raids will be available in 31 minutes and 6 seconds, 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, all that kind of stuff, it's counting down to the top of the hour. When it gets to the top of the hour, those 3 things, 1, 2, or 3 of those things are going to rotate. So in other words, there's always going to be 2 easy level raids. Like there's this one, and then there's this one over here. There's always going to be 2 easy level raids. They are both going to always offer copper as the reward, but they may not be against these same enemies. So this one may not be against scavengers, this one may not be against lunatics, whatever. They may not be at the factory map over here, they may not be at the Rock City map, and they may not be Steel Cradle, and they may not be the map name, or the raid name that I have to read dramatically as always. The War for Fire. So, those 2 are currently the easy level raids, though. But this one right here, Data Theft at the Wrath of Khan, that's currently a normal level raid against nomads, for example, at the top of the next hour, that could be an easy level raid against lunatics or scavengers or nomads or whatever it is. It could swap to over here. Data Theft doesn't have to be here. It could be right here at the same place, Rock City against scavengers, and then be Data Theft here instead. It would just be at this map location. So you'll see though that those easy level raids cost 20 fuel. They're gonna both easy level raids award copper And like I said about the coupons, they award 3 coupons for each victory to a maximum of 6 for easy level raids in the course of a day. Normal level raids, one rewards copper, and 1 rewards. Oh, that's not it. That's a heart. Sorry. And 1 rewards plastic, and they award 10 coupons per victory to a maximum of 20 that can be attained from normal level raids in the course of a day. But you see, they also have additional requirements. You have to have at least a power score 4,000 vehicle. You have to be at least level 10 with the engineers, and you have to have, and it costs you 40 fuel. And then the hard level raids, one of them will award copper, and the other will award electronics. And they award 20 coupons per victory to a maximum of 40 per day that can be attained from hard level raids. And you have to have at least a 5,000 power score vehicle. You have to be at least level 5 with the lunatics, scavengers, and nomads. And you have to be at least, or you have to spend 60 fuel, in order to do a hard level raid. So you see, you get more reward and everything, but you also spend fuel. Now, the other key feature is that whereas, like I said, these ones up here, these blue hexagons, are 8 versus 8 in arena situations. These raids are up to 4 player matches. They're 2 to 4 players. They do not fill in the gaps with bots. So if only 2 people are queued up and only 2 people go, that's enough to start a raid. If only one person's there, it's going to wait until a second person queues up for it. But once you have 2 people, it will start a raid. Oh, damn it! Now I gotta go back in. It will start a raid with just 2 people, but it's going to try to get 3 or 4 people in there for you. But it's only going to go up to 4, and it's not going to fill in the gaps with bots, like I said. So if you only have 2, then you only have 2. Raids, the enemies that you're facing, their strength of their individual vehicles and the vehicle builds that are there are not going to change regardless of your power score. Unlike these other ones up here, these missions and stuff like that, those are going to try to balance out the power scores of the opposing teams, of your opposition and everything. You're going to be fighting people with approximately the same power score as yours, usually. Raids don't do that. Raids are set based on the difficulty level of the raid. So easy level raids have easy level, enemies. Normal level raids, hard level raids, they get progressively harder. What does change within a raid to determine the strength or how dangerous a raid might be, in other words, or whatever, is based on whether you only ended up with 2 vehicles, 3 vehicles, or 4 vehicles going into the raid. Then the number of enemies is going to change. And possibly it might unlock certain vehicles, like say you're driving, if there's only 2 of you, there might only be a couple of basic bots and like 1 little bit tougher bot. But then if there's 3 of you or whatever, then it might be those couple of basic bots, 1 little bit tougher bot, and 1 little bit tougher than that. But those are all still going to be within the parameters of easy level, for example, if it's an easy level raid. So the number of the enemies is going to determine how dangerous or hard that raid is, and that's going to be based on the number of players who are participating in the raid. Now, there's different types. Some of them are battle your way through an area to get to some cargo, take the cargo, and then battle your way back through an area, and then fight a boss. There's some that say, defeat the defenders in this area, then defeat the defenders in this area, defeat the defenders in this area, and then defeat a boss. There are some that say, escort this truck through this long winding map or whatever as you're defeating defenders and bots that spawn along the way. There's different types of raids, but they're all going to be 2 to 4 players against bots. And by bots, I'm not only talking about cars, but there may be fixed defense locations as well, like rocket launchers and missile launchers and mines and all kinds of different things like that. Little gun turrets, all kinds of stuff. So you can see, though, that the raids cost fuel. Like I said, that's why you want to pay attention to your fuel up here, and you want to pay attention to whether or not you want to farm fuel or purchase fuel. Depends, on what's more advantageous for you. Now, why would you even want to do any of these things? And that brings us to the challenges tab. the last tab over here, the challenges tab. Currently, we also have a season going on, by the way, Syndicate right here. Let me touch on that real quick. It has its own set of rewards as you level up. Boom, boom, boom. I've already attained these levels. That's why they're yellowed and checkmarked. This is where I'm at right now. I'm almost at the level for this. And then, as you progress, you'll get more things, to include coins if you pay for the season. If you don't pay for the season, you'll just get the parts that are marked free. Anybody will get those. But if you pay for the season, you'll get all the parts, okay? And as you level up. Well, how do you level up? You level up from challenges, all right? That also brings us back to the same tab. You'll see that there's 3 sub-tabs here under challenges. One is your regular challenges tab, and this includes your regular daily challenges, any special events, and then your regular weekly challenges. And then at the bottom, it'll show any completed challenges that you already have. All right, like I've already done just a couple of things for the completed challenges, not that much. Because we're on a Tuesday and the week starts on Monday, midnight coming into Monday, in other words, Greenwich Mean Time. So the daily challenges, you'll get 9 regular daily challenges every day, all right? It's going to be win 2 battles and missions, or raids using X, as in a particular type of weapon, or group of weapons. Like in this case, it happens to be using a shotgun. Another day, it might be a machine gun, a minigun, a rapid-fire machine gun. Another day, it might be a cannon, a turret cannon, or a plasma gun. Those are the 3 options, and those are on 3-day rotations. So, whereas yesterday was cannon, I think, I want to say, maybe. Then today is shotgun, and then tomorrow would be machine gun, minigun, and rapid-fire machine gun. That kind of thing. And then the next day would be on shotgun, on cannon again. So they're going to be on 3-day rotations, that this is going to say, all right? And likewise, this one here that says buy or sell an item on the market, that particular spot on the daily challenges is on a 2-day rotation. Today it says buy or sell an item on the market. Tomorrow it says craft any item on any workbench. The next day it goes back to buy or sell on a market. But like I said, there's 9 daily challenges. You only see 5. The reason is, once this is done, it's gone, leaving you with these other 3 up here and this one down here. Each of these remaining 4 have a follow-on challenge behind them. So where this says win 2 battles and missions, once that is accomplished, it awards 20 scrap to you, then it will be replaced by one that says win 3 battles and missions, and that will reward 55 scrap to you. This one that says win in 1 raid for 20 scrap will be replaced by one that says win in 2 raids for 55 scrap. And that doesn't mean cumulative 2 raids, that means 2 additional raids beyond the one that you already had. So in other words, a total of 3 raids. Whereas this was 2 battles and missions and followed on by 3 battles and missions, that means 5 total missions. This one says win 2 battles and missions or raids using whatever the weapon of the day is. For 20 scrap, it's going to be replaced by win 3 battles and missions or raids using that same thing. So if you look at it, if you plan it out and you go, okay, I'm going to use a weapon, I'm going to use a vehicle that has a shotgun, then as I accomplish this, I'm also accomplishing this at the same time because the numbers match up. 2 battles and missions, 2 battles and missions using a shotgun. Boom. Accomplish both of those at the same time by completing 2 battles and having a shotgun equipped, or winning in 2 battles and having a shotgun equipped. And then the same thing with the follow-up, win 3 battles in missions and win 3 battles and missions using a shotgun. So if you have a shotgun equipped and you do 5 missions, you've accomplished, and you won 5 missions, then you accomplish both of those at the same time. And then this one that says complete 3 daily challenges for 15 scrap will get replaced by one that says complete 4 daily challenges for 100 scrap. Now, in addition to the scrap that you're gaining from these, and whatever the rewards are from the actual battles that you're gaining, you're gaining whatever resource it is that you're using for your missions or your raids or whatever. In addition to that, you are making progress as you do those things, usually, towards some of these weekly challenges as well. For example, this is just decor for your training area, for your test track. I don't really care about that when it's going to happen by default as you complete daily challenges. This one is a good thing, especially for new players. This is a miner's container. Miner's container has you can see from the pop-up there, variety of possible rewards. It can give you 200 coins. It can give you a rare untradeable part or an epic untradeable part. This, especially for new players, this is a great thing to do. If you do your daily challenges, which like I said, you get 9 per day. If you do 9 per day, then what? Within 5 days, you would have 45 daily challenges completed. You would already have one of these miners containers because all you have to do is complete 42 in a week in order to get it. You would have one of these miners containers. If you're brand new to the game, you hardly have access to any workbenches yet. You don't have the coins unless you spent money on the game. But if you're playing for free, you have hardly anything. And I'm sure you want to play with something more than just the very, very starter stuff. Well, this has a high likelihood of giving you some different part to play with. Yeah, and you can get 200 coins as well, which is it happens. I've never had it happen for me, but it happens. But if nothing else, you at least get access usually to some parts, some kind of an epic part, or possibly even at least a rare part, but possibly even an epic part. I'm saying, so that can give you something different to play with that's new and exciting for you without having to help tide you over as you grind up to get to the higher levels. And when I say grind, just a reminder, this game doesn't have a separate grind. You don't go away from shoot. You came here to shoot and destroy cars and stuff like that. This game doesn't have something you have to stray away from in order to grind, in order to get the resources necessary to build things and all this stuff. All you're doing when you're grinding is shooting cars and destroying cars. The same thing that you came here for anyway. So don't think of it as a grind, even if you have to grind in order to get to something that you want to craft or anything like that. Just think of it as playing the game. That's all you're doing. It just takes you a little bit longer to get to the item. That's all if you're grinding for it versus purchasing it. But you're still just playing the game. That's all. And then you also get these engineer badges for some of these other weekly challenges down here. So like if you're doing this, for example, if you're doing your daily challenges, like I said, you're going to have win 1 raid and then win 2 raids as a follow-on. So you're going to do 3 raids. Well, depending on what kind of raids you do, you could be progressing toward a weekly challenge during the course of completing your daily challenges. So if you're completing 3 raids a day, that's 21 possible raids just from the daily challenge requirements, just by meeting the daily challenge requirements that you can do during the course of a week. Well, if you came down here and you did 10 normal raids with copper as the reward, and then 10 normal raids with plastic as the reward, if you're still relatively new and can't do a hard raid yet, well, that's 20 raids. That's not too bad, right? I mean, considering that you would be able to accomplish 21 raids in the course of a week, just by doing the daily challenges without expending any extra fuel or anything, just those 3 raids. If they were normal raids, the normal raids only cost 40 fuel each, right? So if you only stuck with the daily challenges, you've only used 120 fuel each day. So that's all free fuel. That didn't cost you anything. And then that way you could accomplish these 20, and you would get 100. You get 150 engineer badges for each one of those, and that's 300 engineer badges. And you say to yourself, well, what are these engineer badges? Well, if you go to this other sub-tab right here that says badge exchange, you can get more resources by exchanging engineer badges. You just got 300, for example, just in the course of a week, just by doing normal raids as your daily challenges, right? Okay, well, what does that get you? Say you needed wires, or say you needed plastic, or whatever. Let's say you needed wires. Wires are 125 engineer badges will get you 100 wires. Well, you just got 300, so you can do this twice and still have 50 engineer badges to carry over to the next week, and you've just gotten 200 wires by doing so. That's not that bad, that's in addition to whatever the rewards were for the raids that you were doing. Okay, so just keep that in mind. In addition to resources that you can spend these engineer badges on, you can even spend them on some of these loot crates that are down here, like this Wanderer's container, which is 600 engineer badges. Will give you a random rare part, a random blue part, in other words. This Pathfinder's container is 3,000 engineers badges, which sounds like a lot, and it can be, definitely, but once you're able to handle hard level raids, I'll show you in 1 second. Here, I'll do it right now. Once you're able to handle hard level raids, there's 2 weekly challenges right here. Win 10 battles in hard raids with electronics as the reward, and win 10 battles in hard raids with copper as the reward. They cost 60 fuel each to do, but if you do those, you get 1,000 engineer badges between those two. And then you look down here, this is 3,000 within 3 weeks of just doing those weekly challenges. You've got a free random epic part. Now notice it doesn't say untradeable epic part either. First off, you can sell this Pathfinder's container itself. It's tradable. So you can put that on the market, and I think it's fetching around 300 coins or so. Additionally, the random epic part from the list, whatever, if you open the chest instead, that part is tradable too. If you don't like the part, sell it on the market. Make a bunch of coin off of it from engineer badges that you got by doing weekly challenges instead. Okay, so these are ways to make money, and also ways to get resources if you need resources for crafting items. So you can see that there's various weekly challenges that take place here. This one here, while in the adventure, complete 20 side or group missions. I already went over what those were in that adventure mode, that sandbox, that big blue like badge symbol or whatever that's on the map, right? Where you have the quest givers with the poles with the lights, and then also, like I said, the group missions where all you have to do is go fire a shot and it counts as one of your 20. You complete that, you get 100 engineer badges just from that. You know, pretty easy. Easy raids will get you some. Those patrol missions, they don't award a lot of scrap themselves, but they count as missions for this right here, and as missions for your daily battles here, for your daily challenges up here. Those patrol, the battle against the AI bots, only 8-on-8 in an arena that are very fast, especially at low power score, they count as these missions up here. So you can knock those out real quick and get those requirements handled. Additionally, though, remember how I also pointed out the seasonal event that's going on, the syndicate thing? Well, it comes with its own challenges, because that's how you gain experience points towards syndicate leveling. There are 5 daily challenges here. You'll see only 1 listed. That's because each one is progressively harder and follows on after the other. So earn 2 patches becomes, or for 300 experience points, becomes earn 3 patches for 400 experience points, which then becomes earn 4 patches for 500 experience points. Blah, 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 you know, for 5 of these in a row. All right? Those are going to happen as you accomplish other daily challenges for the most part. I mean, you may want to double check just to make sure once you're done with your daily challenges, but you're going to be pretty progressed along the way as you do your daily challenges. You're going to be getting these things accomplished. But then there are also, I guess we can call them half week. It says weekly challenges, but in reality it's like Monday and Thursday they put new challenges on here. For there's some main challenges. There are 2 of them that might be in this area that for 7,000 experience points each. I accomplished those by accident yesterday, basically. So I already got the 14,000 experience points from that. And then there's an additional one here that says for 3,000 experience points. Like, and these are going to change. These ones are going to be changed. The daily ones are going to be the same every day. These ones are in this section are going to change, and it's going to put a whole new group in here on Thursdays. So this one says destroy at least 4 parts classified as modules, chassis, or weapons with autocannons. Complete it 5 times. I already did 1 of those, so that's going to be an easy 3,000 experience points. I've got a day and 6 hours to accomplish that. So all that being said, let's see. Is there something else? I think that pretty much touches on most everything about the way the game operates. It's really not that complicated, and if you don't like, if you like PvP, obviously it's very heavy PvP centric. It's geared toward that. There are a lot of modes of battle where you can get into PvP. If you're not as much into PvP, or you just don't, you don't think you're going to be that good at it yet, or you want to practice more, there's plenty of PvE options as well in the game that a lot of people don't focus on, and a lot of people don't, and the game itself I don't think advertises very well. So you probably want to look for some of those types of things. The raids are good. The patrols even are fine for helping you. Now, they're very fast at very low power scores. You're barely going to be able to perfect any skills or anything like that, just because the battle's going to be over so fast, at low power scores. But when you get up into higher power scores, They can take a little bit longer, and they can get pretty challenging, even though you're fighting bots. But, you know, if it's something just to help you develop some confidence in your ability, you know, with in either your ability or your build, you know, maybe you're unfamiliar with a particular new weapon that you got, or you just got hovers or something like that, then you're trying to figure out how to control them and get better at shooting or something like that, then yeah, use it in PvE, use it in the sandbox in the awakening mode, use it in those kind of things, and you'll get your familiarity, your confidence will build up with, you know, with your build and all this kind of stuff as well. I did point out those exhibition builds. You can add those. You can copy somebody's build. If you find something in the exhibition and you put it in your garage and you can test drive it and you go, man, I really like this. If you have an empty slot in your blueprints over here, you can just copy, you download their exhibition build into your blueprints, and then as long as you have the parts for it, and it'll tell you any parts you're missing. But yeah, Autocrafter too. Yep. So if you just want to see what the AI, what the system itself would assign for you and create for you out of your storage, out of the items that you have available to you in your storage, you have this little button right here, auto assembly. All right, so you can create with filters. You can create a certain power score. Like, I want a vehicle that's in the 5,000 power score range. I have a number of parts to choose from. I don't really want to spend the time to try to put this vehicle together. I could just do this right now. I could just go 5,000 to let's say 5,500. All right, so boom, and I need it to be an autocannon build because, you know, because of that challenge of shooting off parts with an autocannon. So I can say, like, I want to use my. Notice they're color coded based on rarity. I want to use AC-50 Storms for this. Okay. Then I say, yep, let's do that. Boom, and then I just. Oh, sorry. Then what does it say? It has to use at least one AC-50 Storm. I'm sorry. Then I just go, right? No? Oh, why am I not doing this right? Choose my settings. I got my... Oh, it's right here. It's this part. This is the filter. I'm sorry. This is the actual auto assembly. Then I hit that button. Yeah, I get it. Right. Random vehicle from the parts in your storage. Continue. Right. Boom. It's searching. It's looking through your parts. It's putting together the vehicle. It's putting together a different vehicle. And it's done. It created this with the parts that I have, which actually doesn't look bad. You know, it doesn't look bad at all. So there you go. It created this vehicle for me, which if I want to see the stats, I can see it. It's still got an energy point available. It only used 11 of 12 points. It has a top speed of 80. It falls within its acceleration, you know, and tonnage requirements, and falls under the required mass. It shows what its durability is. It tells you what the power score is, 51, 53. So that seems like it would be pretty good. So if I say, okay, well, let's take her for a test drive. It's not very fast, but it's all right. It qualifies, meets the requirement, right? I wanted a vehicle 5,000 to 5,500 power score, and it just auto-created this. Maybe you say to yourself, I'm not creative, or you say to yourself, I don't have the time, or I just don't want to spend the effort to create a vehicle like this. The game will do that for you. It'll just do that for you, and you're good to go. You can just test it out and play with it. Now you can make some adjustments. You can make whatever adjustments you want. It's the active vehicle in your build right now. You can see it's got this big open area right here, for example. I could put something. I've got an extra energy point, right? So I could go in here to build, and then I could sit there and go, okay, well, I still want to stick to my 5,000 to 5,500, so I'm not going to put a weapon in there necessarily. Well, what am I? I'm at 55. Well, I can't put a weapon anywhere. Anyway, it's only got one energy point. But what I can do is I could put a cooler, you know, I could put, if it's not going to go very fast, so I don't need the seal to be it, because that's based on speed. This is based on low speed, so let's put a shiver in there. Boom, I've got room for it. I put a shiver right there. Ta-da! Now I'm at 5428. That shiver's still hidden underneath there. Nobody's none the wiser, right? I'm using all my energy points now. And now my now if I go to use it, my weapons will cool down a little bit faster. Because I'm going at a nice slow speed, my weapon cooldown is much faster. So there you go. But it's an awesome option for new players, especially who might not, you know, understand the subtle nuances of crafting vehicles and things like that, and just want to get in with a different build and try something different, or they're not, or anybody who's not feeling very creative one day or something like that. Guess what? It did its thing. It made this for us. So nothing wrong with that, right? So now we're going to finally get on to gameplay. Only almost 2 hours into this stream. We're going to knock out my daily and weekly challenges. You know what I'm going to do, actually, so that I keep this video, more manageable? I'm going to end this stream, and then I'm going to restart so that it's 2 separate videos, and the next start will just be the daily and weekly challenges part, okay? So, to that end, thank you all for tuning in and sticking with me on this one. Like I said, I'm going to end this stream. I'm just going to restart a new stream right after it so that they come up as 2 separate videos and I don't have to do any editing afterwards. Save myself a step, right? Been talking for 2 hours, doing a full tutorial on this thing. It's a pretty heavy tutorial. Hopefully some people got something out of it. Anybody who might be watching this video on YouTube later on, especially, or anything. If you're new to the game or you just want to check out the game and you want to see if it's for you, it can be played extremely simply. You can get in and just take very low level vehicle and go through just these blue hexagon type arena battles up here, these 8v8 arena battles up here, and you could just do that all the time and keep it as a pretty casual game that you just have in your library because it costs you nothing, and access it whenever you want to just have some stress relief. You come home after and you just drove through a terrible amount of traffic and you want to blow up cars because of it, well, you can just get on there and do that, right? And then the other option is you can get more in depth into the game if you'd like. You can get into all different types of battles. You can get into the market and play the market in order to gain coins. You can get into exhibition. You can design all kinds of stuff for people to use or use other people's designs. You can get into the factions heavy and get into the crafting of all the different types of stuff. Create your own builds. Get creative with it. You can get totally in depth into whatever level of depth that you would like to get into, but it's not a requirement. That being said, I hope some people got something out of this tutorial video today. If you did, make sure if you're on YouTube watching this video later, make sure you like and subscribe. If you are on Twitch and you haven't yet, please hit Secret Squirrel Games with a follow. It would be very much appreciated. Additionally, I do stream Crossout. It's on my schedule. I stream Crossout. It's not all tutorials, though. But I do, Tuesday is a heavy tutorial day for me. But I do Crossout at noon Eastern Standard Time it's Eastern Daylight Savings Time now. But whatever, still noon Eastern in the United States on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and at 3 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays and Fridays. Make sure you join me then. If, like I said, if you hit me with a follow, then you'll be notified when I go live. I do stream other games occasionally. I'm starting to work on building that up, but right now it's mainly Crossout heavy. But we do stream some other games as well here on Secret Squirrel Games, so I'd love to have you tune in for any of that as well. Also on my Twitch page is a link to Discord, and feel free to come join me over in Discord as well. I'd love to have you join the community over there. Trying to build up a community here, and every little bit helps. Thank you all for tuning in for this one. again, for anybody who's in right now, just stay tuned because I'm just going to restart the stream here in just a few moments, and we're going to knock out some daily and weekly challenges. And Red already said that he's going to join me for some of that, and so I'll be inviting him. We'll group up together and we'll knock out some daily and weekly challenges here and start having some fun. The tutorial portion is over. Time for some gameplay, people. So until that next stream, have fun, take care out there, and thanks for joining.